Hi, Brianna here. I am coming on to share with you a little bit of my own personal experience. As always, these Wild Woman Rhapsodies are about me sharing from my truth. I'm not here to tell you your truth or try to proclaim the truth. I'm just here to share with you my most authentic truth as it flows through me. Tonight's topic is very personal and it dives deep into sex and sexuality. So if this is something that is too triggering for you, or maybe you've had a recent trauma, or if you're under the age of 18, this is probably not the live for you. Hi, Paul. It's good to see you. This is Wild Woman Rhapsody number 38. I dedicated to start doing these videos about a year and a half ago to bring forward my truth and to be a lighthouse for what's on social media. There's so much being produced out there, and there's a lot of complaining, and there's a lot of comparing, and there's a lot of arguing about details, but what I'm committed to is sharing my authentic truth. I believe that the medicine that the world needs right now as individuals, especially women, coming forward and sharing their true story. I love you too, Daniela. It's good to see you. If you don't already, please follow me here on Facebook and you'll get informed of when I do my videos. Also, we have an incredible group called the Coaching Coven that if you have a moment to click the link here in the description and check out the Coaching Coven, I would love to see you there. It's amazing to see people popping on. Hi, Amy. It's good to see you. Allison, it's good to see you too. So it's good to see people popping on. Today's topic, like I said, is about sexual abuse. And we're going to talk about how to heal the physical body after coercive sexual abuse. And this is something that I'm going to be speaking very personally about. This is not from an expert perspective. This is from I've been through sexual abuse, and the way that I walked myself through it was like this. So this is going to be coming from a very personal place. This is going to be coming from a very intimate place. And what I really want to offer here is a safe space. So any comments below are really about support. You're allowed to ask questions, and we want to be very mindful of the people who are commenting below. There might be people who come forward and share Me Too experiences. And it's important that we respect and love everyone who's here on the feed. We're allowed to have different opinions. You are allowed to disagree with me all that you want with what I say. What I'm going to request is no matter what my emotional state is, no matter what it is that I say, you understand that I'm opening my emotional channel and going through my own process in this experience. So I'm just inviting compassionate communication here on this Facebook feed and also on my Facebook page. Anything other than compassionate communication will not be tolerated. You're allowed to disagree, and we get to stay in the compassion all along the way. So I just really want to create a safe space for myself and also for everyone who's joining us here on this feed. So I'm just really appreciating all of you for being with me tonight. So what is coercive sexual abuse? Now, again, this is my definition, and this is me working with what it is that I've worked through in my life. So there's going to be other definitions that might be more resonant for you. You are allowed to choose those definitions. Coercive sexual abuse is having a sexual encounter that you did not fully want to say yes to, but you felt pressured into in any way, and you felt that there would be consequences if you did not say yes. So I'm going to repeat that again. It might be slightly different words, but anytime you've entered into a sexual agreement that you felt pressured into because you felt like there would be negative consequences afterwards if you did not say yes, if you did not acquiesce to their request, that there would be negative consequences afterwards. So that's coercive sexual abuse. And for me, my story really... This is challenging to share, but I'm going to share it. Part of my dedication in 2019 is sharing more of my personal story. So in my early 20s, I was in a very challenging place in my life where I was questioning a lot of things about my beliefs and about my existence on this planet. And during that time, as a lot of early 20-year-olds do, I started experimenting. And I experimented mostly with my social circles, and I experimented a bit with sex and sexuality. And one scenario that I found myself in was with an organization called One Taste. And during my time with them, I felt very pressured to do things that were not of my full choosing. I felt coerced. I felt that if I did not do these things, I would not receive the benefits of being a part of their social group. I also felt that if I did not do the things that they were asking me, I would be shunned. And I also felt like I would be shamed. There was a lot of very powerful transformational coaching happening within that organization. But at the same time, when someone didn't acquiesce to the requests of the higher ups, there was a lot of really powerful shaming that happened. And at the same time, it was an organization that was studying female orgasm. And so I became one of the subjects of this organization. And luckily, I only worked with them for about a year, but it was very confusing for my system. Before that time, I had an experience with a man that I was working with. We'll just call him Ryan. That is his actual name, Ryan Z. I'm not going to say his last name, but anyone who worked at Outback Therapeutic Expeditions knows who he is. And on the night of his birthday, I had been drinking and I somehow ended up back at his place. I don't remember consenting to that. And I do remember being in his bed and him physically pushing me and physically overpowering me multiple times. And I felt, and he was demanding to have sex with me. And I felt that if I did not have sex with him, he would physically hurt me. And so I decided to have sex with him. And the next morning I felt really strange because it wasn't rape, because I said yes. But I felt like if I hadn't have said yes, something worse would have happened. And when alcohol is involved, it's a very confusing scenario. I have not heard of one scenario where alcohol and sex were involved with strangers that ended up in a good way. And maybe that's just because I haven't heard that many stories. But I share these two examples, and these are just two examples of coercive sexual abuse. These are just two examples. There are many in my life. I would say probably at least 5 more that I can think of off the top of my head, where I felt that if I didn't say yes to the sexual suggestion that was being presented to me, I would have been hurt or shunned in some way. That is coercive sexual abuse, that you'll be either cast out or physically or emotionally or financially somehow hurt if you do not acquiesce to what's being asked. So when I decided to start healing from this, it was, thank you for the love. That took a lot for me to share. That was really intense. When I decided to start healing from this sexual abuse, it was in 2012 was when I really started to get in touch with it. And around this time, I started diving deeper into the shamanic studies. And one thing that I got really clear was how out of touch with my body I had been there for a long time, even before some of the deeper sexual problems or deeper sexual abuse that I started experiencing. Anytime that I would have a sexual experience, I was way out of my body. Like I was not there. I was either in fantasy land, like pretending that I was having a different sexual experience than the one that was happening, or I was having a completely different experience altogether. I was dissociated most of the time. And so by this time, I knew that I had the opportunity to get back into my body, really learn what it meant to breathe deep into the lowest part of my belly. And that's really where I started, was with the breath. The question that our sister Cassie had was, how do you heal your body after coercive sexual assaults or coercive sexual abuse? And the first step was getting a relationship with my breath again. Really understanding where I was breathing. I was breathing really high and shallow in my chest, and learning how to breathe down deep into the lowest part of my belly, breathe deep into my womb, breathe deep into my sexual organs again, and start to have a relationship with my body, a sensual relationship with my body that didn't involve anyone else. And I'm not talking about masturbation. I'm just talking about the ability to breathe on the inside. For me, because my history is teamed with disordered eating, so much of my experience was about looking at myself and judging myself if I was pretty enough or skinny enough or this enough or that enough. So part of my healing on so many levels had to become an inside out experience, How did I start to feel who I am and my breath from the inside of my belly out, rather than getting outside validation that I was good enough, that I could get this award or make this achievement or be this good of a student or be this good of a sister or be whatever. Instead of getting outside validation, the way I started to heal my body was to start to have an inside out relationship with it. And for me, it started with belly breathing and literally just putting my hands on my belly, taking 10 deep breaths first thing in the morning and 10 deep breaths before I go to bed at night was one of the biggest things that started to allow me to come back into my body, allowed me to come back into a place where I felt safe to feel my body from the inside out, right? How many times a day do we look in a mirror? How many times a day do we fix our hair or look at our teeth? Or how many times a day do you feel yourself from the inside out? And that is, for me, as much as any of you, that is truly the medicine for me. Can I feel myself from the inside out? Getting on the train of my mind of what I should be doing or what would look good always ends me up back in chaos. When I start repeating something of someone else's that I think is what you want to hear, or when I start telling you what I think will be motivational and powerful, there's an inauthenticity to that I'm so complete with in the transformational and spiritual worlds. We don't need to be repeating what other people have said. What we need to be doing, what I get to do in this moment, is feel myself from the inside out and draw the wisdom from deep within my breath, from within my body, from within my womb. The magic that is of this moment has nothing to do with how much I know, the information that I can give you, but the transmission that I can offer through my lived experience. And I'm so excited to bring this forward. The only way we can heal from any form of abuse, whether it's sexual, whether it's coercive, whether it's physical abuse from our parents, whether it's emotional abuse from our parents, physical or emotional abuse from another, past life, and all the healing begins in the body, number one, and all the healing begins with our breath, number two, from the inside out, starting to notice my human experience with my eyes closed from the inside out. This is why meditation is such a huge part of so many people's awakenings, because it is taking the sacred pause to slow down and notice there's something other than me just responding to the world. There's something other than me just answering questions. There's something other than me just showing up and performing. There's something other than me just getting feedback from the world around me that I'm okay and that I belong. There's a deeper knowing. There's a deeper breath. There's a deeper relationship with myself that I developed because I got to heal from the trauma that came into my life. I chose to heal from the sexual, from the disordered eating, from the confusion of my family. I chose to heal from that. And in that process, I learned that the only path to healing is going in. Deep into my breath, deep into my belly. So that was number one, was learn how to feel it from the inside out. Number two, and it's also simultaneous to number one, because you all know that I work on a quantum timeline. So number one, get that breath. Number one is also get out of harm's way. How do you heal from coercive sexual abuse? You make sure that you're not in it. You make sure that you get out of it. You make sure that you're not dating a similar vibrational frequency to the same one that you just got out of. You make sure that you're not attracting the same vibrational frequency, and you get out of harm's way. The most difficult part about my coercive sexual abuse is that it happened again and again and again and again. And I chose to put myself back into those scenarios because I kept repeating the pattern that I knew that I could survive, that gave me some sort of validation that I was alive through the trauma. Until I healed my need to have trauma, until I actually got out of harm's way, I kept repeating the same abusive pattern by playing the victim role. Number one, learn the breath from the inside out. Number two, get out of harm's way. But that's also kind of number one. Number three, I learned how to tell my story. This is what I'm doing right now, actually, in this moment. I am learning how to tell my story. I'm learning how to be honest with you. Thank you, Paul, for being so validating right now. That's very kind. I learned how to tell my story. I learned how to open my mouth and say, hey, I had an experience. I feel some shame about it. And I know that sharing this video with you right now, you sharing this video to someone else in the world is going to radically shift their experience, because I know so many women, I know so many men, and I know so many others who need to heal, who want to heal from coercive sexual abuse. And this video might be their only link to it. This video might be the only conversation for someone in Ohio who doesn't have a supportive community to talk about sexuality with. This might be the only video for someone in a rural area who doesn't feel comfortable bringing the conversation about sexual abuse forward. And I want you to know that you're safe and that you're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many people in this moment who are dealing with the deep pain of coercive sexual abuse. And as much as our love connects all human beings, our pain also connects all of us. So I just want to take a sacred pause in this moment. And through this storyline, I want us to connect with all the people who are being abused right now, all of the victims. Just connect your heart to theirs and let them know that they're not alone. If you've ever been a victim in your life, I want you to tap into the Akashic records, that communal bank account that we all share as human beings, the energetic connection that we all share. And anyone who's in sexual pain right now, I want you to connect with them and let them know they're not alone. And anyone who's a perpetrator right now, anyone who's a predator, anyone who's buying or selling flesh, anyone who's taking advantage of someone, whether they know it or not, I want you to connect with them for a moment and connect to their heart. And any part of them that justifies what they're doing or thinks that it's okay, or they're in so much pain that they can't even see how much pain that they're causing, just connect with their heart for a moment and let them know that they're not alone. We love you, we see you, we feel you, we are one human family, we have one heart. So one heart feels it, we all feel it. And telling the story and starting to connect from the heart to the victims and the perpetrators is how we can heal this on a global level. There are no enemies. We get to call this forward and truly connect to the heart of each victim and each perpetrator. Let them know they're not alone. We're going to heal this together. We get to each tell our story. So after you tell your story, the final piece that I've found in the healing is getting connected to people who also have the same story. To my tribe, to a coach, to start to connect with those so that I know that I'm not alone. And it might be sharing this video. It might be you just hashtagging me too here. You're not alone. And starting to build the tribe of people who are willing to talk about the challenges as much as they're willing to talk about the light. We all have beautiful dreams. We all have incredible visions. It's time we start talking about it. And we've all been through a shit ton of shit, and it's time we start talking about that too. It's time that we start sharing our stories, because the pain that we're feeling, especially in our privileged positions, is the pain of the planet. Our planet is dying. And we are feeling it as human beings. We are feeling it. And these challenges of victim and perpetrator are an example of our planet calling out for help. She's calling out to help through the human beings, through us who are feeling pain, through those who feel so much pain that they feel justified in being a perpetrator, for those who are in so much pain that they don't talk about their victim stories. The planet is hurting, and we are appendages of the planet. So we are feeling out, we are playing out the war that is happening globally in each one of our own bodies. Anyone who's hurting is everyone hurting. Any human being who's in suffering on the planet, we all feel it. And starting to come together as tribe and be really honest about the challenges that we have as human beings. The number one trauma that we have as human beings is forgetting who we actually are. The number one trauma, and we all experience it, no matter how much privilege you have, no matter how much poverty you have, anywhere in the world, you have the trauma of forgetting who you are. You are an infinite beautiful, radiant soul that comes from the one light, from the one heart of divine love. Whatever religion you are, whatever background you are, whatever you believe, this is what is, and I've seen it in my lifetime, that we've all come from the same point and we will all return to the same point. And coming into tribe and being able to speak about the challenges in this lifetime reconnects us to that oneness. I said that was the last one, but that isn't the last one. Connect to tribe, and then finally connect to nature. That has been the most healing piece for all the aspects of my trauma. Connecting to the plant teachers and connecting to natures, getting barefoot outside, even just 5 minutes, and breathing deep and allowing myself to feel as the one earth body again, being here, being powerful, being present with my earth body. So I covered what is coercive sexual abuse. I've covered how to get in touch with your body again, the dangers and awesomeness of tantra, sexual healing, oming, etc. Oops. I just totally dropped my camera and my candle wax all over me. Let's see if I can get this video back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. That was some experience. Wow, that was really powerful. Actually, right as I was going to go into the dangers and awesomeness of tantra, sexual healing, and oming, my candle and camera just flipped. Wow, the candle's still on too. That's wild. It just totally spilled all over me. And I'm taking that as a powerful sign. So tantra, sexual healing, oming, while there's no way to say that these things are good or bad, it's not that. It's really about learning what tools are actually useful for you. And most of what is being taught, in my experience, in the tantra world and the sexual healing world, is the fun stuff that people want to pay attention to. When I first started studying tantra, the teacher that I sat with said, this is a practice that people studied alone for a decade, then alone for another decade, completely isolated, right? So it's like alone in a monastery, and then alone completely isolated, and then possibly in their third decade, they got to initiate with a partner. So much of what is being taught as tantra nowadays is not traditional tantra, is not the actual sacred path and traditions. And I say this only because these practices are meant to be taught in a tribal setting or in an ecosystem that supports the sexual practices, right? So in an area where you are having healthy food and you have a healthy environment and you have other teachers and you have other spiritual practices that supplement the practice of conscious sexuality and the teachers and the students who are part of that. We don't have this structure right now. And most of the time I see these scenarios ending up being an emphasis only on sex and not on the holistic view. And because sex is so much of a pattern problem in our current consumerist society, adding sexuality to what it is that we are consuming can be very, very confusing. So for anyone who's experienced coercive sexual abuse, I would highly encourage you to stay away from tantra, sexual healing, and the oming community, because they utilize people who've been traumatized in their scenarios. And without the proper training, those people who've been traumatized can be traumatized again in these spaces. Not everywhere all the time, but I would highly suggest using the discernment of your body to really understand if those are pieces that you even want to enter into. So please share this video if you find that it supports you. This is a sensitive and beautiful topic. And like I said, I'm not the expert. I don't claim to be the knowing. All I do on these Wild Woman Rhapsodies is share with you my truth as I know it. It's so wonderful to be with all of you. Good to see you, Paul. Good to see you, Amy. Awesome to see you, Anna. Thank you for being here, Harsh. I love all of you. Many blessings, lots of light, and share this video if it moves you. Peace.